people on here, creative, and another special guest, AeTopus, alias Bryan Hughes, and he's an electronic composer with all types of synthesizers, etc. So thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dennis. Good to be
Sure.
here.
So let's talk about how you got interested in electronic music and synthesizers and how this came to be.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm not one of those people who grew up with synthesizers and electronic music, really. I do come from a musical background, but when I was a teenager and in my 20s, it was more heavy metal, punk rock, and stuff like that. And I
Right.
had been in I played bass guitar,
Oh, okay.
not as a professional level, but good enough to bang it out and have a good time. And but bands come and bands go, and I remember it was around 1997, 1998. I was in a punk band, and
Mm,
we're sitting around at 3 in the morning. Everybody's having beers and more beers, and
mm.
everybody's talking about how famous and cool everything is. And I just thought to myself, I've done this before, and somebody's going to move or someone's going to get a
Yeah,
job, and it's
of
just not,
course.
that was right around the period where computers were getting fast enough, and maybe a little more affordable. And so I was like,
Mm.
I don't really need other people. And so I first got into it to make kind of an industrial project, like
Oh, okay.
like a ministry style front 242.
Throbbing gristle type of
Right, totally. Yeah.
yeah.
And so that kind of got me introduced to MIDI audio workstations. You still couldn't really do a lot with audio, but I kind of, I won't say I learned from the ground floor, but kind of close as far as what's going on today. And so
What was your first keyboard? What was your first synthesizer that you bought?
first synthesizer was a Roland D20.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, back with the 3.5 inch floppy
Oh, okay. Wow, I
drive.
remember that. So go
Yeah,
ahead, keep going. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
no, it's all good. I've never, I look at my peers now in the genre and in other forms of electronic music, and boy, everybody's just got the coolest stuff, and everybody's into
Yeah, you're right.
vintage gear. And I do have a few kind of, you could call vintage pieces, but I missed that boat. I'm not like a gearhead, really. I have more of an artistic background, and so I approach it with like just using whatever I can get my hands on. A lot of times I'll actually kind of do things on the cheap, and then use an expensive mixing environment to get it sounding really huge and spacious.
Well,
So
it's easy. Easy these days with so much software out there and sounds and everything. I mean, I don't think you need to spend tons of money on older analog gear in this day and age.
yeah, I can see the attraction, because I have friends that own this stuff, the old Moog stuff, and just all this and newer like Arturia synths and stuff, and I'm just like, whoa, that's pretty cool. But I've gotten used to sort of this collage approach to, I
Okay.
don't just use synths. I go out and get field recordings. I
Oh,
record
neat.
hand
Sampling.
percussion, things like that. So
So do you sample this field recordings and
yeah,
then
I lost you there
manipulate
for a
it?
second. Yeah,
Oh,
I do.
do you take the
Go out into the woods or into the city and get samples,
oh,
and
okay.
and work them in, and I don't go out sometimes with the intention that it's going to end a certain way. I collect stereo audio with a portable setup. So
And is that how you record? You get these
Well, I
samples,
have
and
a
then you start mixing in other instruments to.
yeah, I have a collection of microphones, and I do what I can. I rent an art studio space downtown Bellingham,
Oh, okay.
Washington. And so I'm kind of the oddball musician in the middle of a bunch of visual artists, and it's really loud, and really there's a train that goes by
No, that's funny.
constantly, and there's traffic and other people. But late at night, there are certain things I am actually able to do. It's a really good drum room, um,
Hmm.
and I work with headphones a lot. So it's this
Okay.
creative space more than it is some sort of fancy studio. And then
Okay.
once my tracks are ready, I'll go to a separate, more professional location,
Oh, okay.
and we'll use the good stuff. We'll use the tube compressors and the pro mixing gear.
So that's for the mix after.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Dennis, by the way, if this seems a little disjointed, my laptop's giving me
That's okay.
stuttering a little bit, so I might not hear hear
Okay.
the full
I mean,
question.
it's all right. If it freezes up a little bit, I can fix
Yeah.
that. It's not a problem.
Okay.
So let's talk about also the music that you've put out so far. I mean, I see this new record. Uh, is that out on CD? Your new recording?
Yeah, that is out on compact disc.
Oh,
Spotted
okay.
Peccary. Yeah, the past two albums, Iota, which is the most recent one, and then
Right.
the one from last year's entitled Cup. Those were put out by Spotted Peccary Music on compact disc. Everything
Oh, okay.
before that was independently released by me, and all those are available on compact disc. I actually did a vinyl
So you have a
too.
label now putting this out. That's great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
That's
really been nice having a team behind me, because
yeah.
between like 2002 and just a few years ago, I was kind of went went on my own and produced. I did everything. I did the artwork, I did the
Hmm.
production, the layout, graphics. I have my own mailing lists and my own outreach system, and so it's a lot of work on the back end. And I'm
It
thankful
is.
to Spotted Peccary for all the work they do. They do a great job.
Yeah, I've gone the opposite way. I had labels putting out my records and
Uh-huh.
doing all that, and now I'm back to being independent again.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's always a balance, isn't it?
it is. It's I think I went usually one label, one record and done with
Now, are you talking liquid?
labels. It's unfortunate these independent labels. Like you have a good team behind you, but it's kind of hard to stay focused with a lot of indie labels.
Oh, it is, it is. And the reason I put it off for a long time, because I know about labels. I mean, they come and they go, and
Right.
things aren't clear as to how the business relationship works. Spotted Peccary's been around for, I think it's 37 years now,
Oh,
and they actually won an award a couple
oh,
years ago
okay.
as being the most
Announced
artist
it.
friendly label. So I was like, yeah,
Oh, that's
do
great.
that.
Well, you're lucky to
Yeah,
find somebody like that. That's really great.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So they distribute it around the
yeah, yeah. They do.
world for
Mo-
you? I
mo-
mean, are
mo-
different
Mostly North
distributors all
America and
over?
Europe, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's good that they now are they gonna put it out in vinyl for you yet, or is it just
No,
compact disc?
no, they don't do vinyl. It's just not for this little niche genre. It really isn't worth it. And you really do have to wait like 12, 14, 16 months
Oh,
now to get. It's
yeah.
just so hard and so expensive and complicated. So
Yeah, I made a
it
big mistake. I tried to put out a vinyl record of mine during COVID, and a lot of
uh-huh.
the plants were down to make the lacquer. So
Yeah.
I was really screwed on that. Ooh, I learned my lesson.
Yeah. That there was like a
Addictive
supply
compact disc.
chain. Yeah.
It easier to distribute, less money to ship.
Yeah. Now, hey, Dennis, when you're talking about your music, are we talking about that liquid?
No, solo music I've done over the years.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
done electronic music, acoustic records, all,
Uh-huh. Okay.
all types of music I've put out. And this was after the very small part of my uh, playing was the band. That was almost in the 20s, late
Okay.
20s.
Okay.
I was young then, and actually early to mid 20s.
Okay.
And then,
Okay.
but I've been very interested in electronic music. I was doing that at the same time, experimental music.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I've been through, a lot of distributors, labels. It's not easy out there.
Yeah. I'll
Oh,
I'll I'll have to check out your other stuff
what's the
then.
process? Yeah, Dennis Young Music Bandcamp. Anybody out there too that wants to hear
Yeah.
it? Tomorrow I'm putting out a archive of some of the things I did on ADAT. You remember that
Oh
format?
yeah.
Elisa's ADAT. I had one of those and did music on that. So it's going to be out tomorrow for anybody out there, free download.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'll be checking it out.
Any whatever you want to pay. If it's nothing, it's okay. I want people to hear the music.
Yeah, that's
So
where we're
anyway,
at.
back to your story. So, what's the process? You start off on like a sequencer sound, and then come up with these beautiful arrangements.
Thank you. I
Yeah, it's very
appreciate the
nice.
compliment.
I've listened to the
Yeah,
record.
you know, anymore, sometimes I'll have an idea while I'm doing some repetitive, boring task, like, just cleaning or hiking or something with, something will pop into your head and I'll like whip out my phone or a voice recorder really quick or worse, try and jot it
Okay,
down on like a made up tablature, like napkin style. Um, but usually what I found is really effective is it's electronic music is so weird because like, if you're a guitarist, yeah, I will concede that a guitarist, especially a really good one, can create billions of different sounds and emotions and everything.
right.
But at the end of the day, you still have a guitar, right? You kind of have
That's
an
true.
idea of where that's going. Electronic music, though, it's just there's so much you can do, and it's kind of like a throwing spaghetti at the wall kind of
That's
thing, and
true. You're right.
and what I've learned to do is just to create these huge sonic mayhem uh, things. Like sometimes I'll pile like 30, 40 tracks on top of each other of
Wow.
sounds and related notes and rhythms. And then the challenge is to peel all that away.
Right.
I think that there's a quote that I always liked. I think it's attributed to like Michelangelo, but I'm sure he didn't say this. But it's
Hmm.
something to that effect where it's like, oh, how do you envision these sculptures? It's just incredible. And he's like, well, I don't really the sculpture's already inside the block of marble.
Yeah. Hmm.
All I do is take away what's not the sculpture.
Oh,
And
okay.
so and so that's kind of sonically what I do is I build this huge block of marble and then I take what isn't the song from it. And sometimes you just end up with too much and you have to walk away and um, come back in a few days and then it hits you.
Yeah. Well, I find that too. Like you have to get to feel something when you get a great sound. I always
Yeah.
feel you got to record it because on those synthesizers, especially if you're doing some of the analog
Hmm.
synthesizers, one little knob turn and it's gone.
Yeah.
On.
And sometimes
That's
I
it.
think modern musicians, electronic musicians, really have to watch out too, because a lot of this equipment
Mm,
does so much for you. So I mean, it's almost a it's an art form for some of
yeah,
these programmers to write these patches, these presets,
right. It's pretty
and
incredible.
you really have to be like, okay, no, that's somebody else's preset. I can't let that be the foundation of this song. That's cheating. That's not,
Yeah.
it's like,
Well, if you look at the 1980s, the Prophet 5, they used a lot of the program samples for those amazing
yeah,
sounds, all those pads, and I hear a lot of that from that era.
yeah.
So, a lot of patches are made, and you never know when they're going to be prominent in songs.
Oh yeah, a lot of those. I mean, there's an '80s sound, isn't there? Like
Oh
if you go
yeah,
to just about any kind of electronic music or pop music, anything from Peter Gabriel to like Berlin or
yep.
something, you can tell it's from the
A lot of
'80s
it was
just because of the.
the DMX Oberheim drum machine, and then you
Yep.
had the Prophet 5,
Yeah.
and maybe the Moog a little bit, but I heard a lot of Prophet 5 in those sounds,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
mids.
Totally. I've got a rack version of the Oberheim
Oh,
Matrix. I got
okay.
the Matrix 1000. You can't really do as much with it. Um, but boy, that's some juicy, juicy synth pads there.
Yeah. So do you use much software synthesizers, or it's a lot of mostly external effects and patches?
These days I use mostly soft synths.
Okay.
I do have my favorite. I've kept my favorite outboard gear.
Oh, that's good.
Just there's certain things I can't do without. Like the Matrix. Uh, I've got an Alesis quadrasynth from
Oh, wow, I haven't heard that in a while.
I think 1998. And yeah, I mean, you really have to run it through some processing to get good stuff at. I mean, it was so cool back in the day, but um, and let's see, I've got an Emu Proteus
Hmm.
2000, which it's weird to think of this stuff as vintage because it was kind of on the cusp of the digital
Yeah.
age, but it's really handy because I know these things inside and out, and so
Well, that's the thing. If you know the instrument, I had a monopoly Korg, and
uh-huh.
I sold it like a dummy. About
Oh,
10 years ago. I sold it for $900. Now it's worth about those since running about 2 grand.
oh yeah, you just
But
can't get it back.
it was a great keyboard.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I sold the Roland D20,
But so
and
what's planned next? Do you do live shows? Do you play live?
I've done.
Do you,
I'm ready to do live shows. I've done one, and it went well.
okay,
Um, but it has been a challenge because the AeTopus sound, it's not really. It's not that pure drifting ambient where I can just sit and twist a
you
bunch of
sit back
knobs for an hour. Yeah,
and just
but
go to sleep, right? It's not that
right,
type. I know.
but at the same time, it's not that kind of 4/4 beat dance music type of electronica. It's something sort of in between, and it's really a studio project. And so what I've had to do is resort to kind of more of a DJ approach to it. So I
Okay.
use Ableton Live
Oh,
for part of the setup. And
okay.
what I've done is I've reverse
Now,
engineered my stems.
oh, you have.
So
Okay.
yeah,
So,
I've broken everything down, and then I add sounds and effects from my older. I have a keyboard that I'll, you know, play parts on and whatnot.
you're basically like a hybrid approach, right? You're using older gear and new to create your music.
right, right. I kind of
right?
feel like I'm kind of caught between being the kid with with the Ableton laptop,
Right,
but on the other end, I'm actually kind of a deep listening studio uh, person. And the challenge with live electronic music, as you probably know or have heard a million times, is you don't want to be that person that stands up there and does nothing.
right.
And
I've
you,
seen
you
those.
yeah. So the goal is to just keep my
Yep,
hands moving and actually play the
you're right.
music and have everything be different. Put myself at risk. I've never gotten
mm,
through a set practicing without a few mistakes, and that's just the nature of live. I mean, that's why people go to live music, is not to
right.
hear your CD.
That's right. Well, when I did like live electronic shows, I had some of the background music on
Uh
DAT,
huh. Uh huh.
and I would play along to that. Uh, Live electronic shows in the 90s. So that
Yeah.
helped, but still, it's not like actually playing everything right in front of people. That's the best.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you got to put yourself out there, and like for me, and the only other way to do it would be to hire or bribe or somehow get at least three or four other musicians multitasking on strings and woodwinds and percussion. There's just no other way to
Right.
do it other than to have some of it playing automatically, but that you can change with controllers, and then just keep mixing it up and
So can you
keep
get a
varying
live?
things.
Can you get a drummer to play with you, like a live
Yeah, I mean, I
drummer?
I, I could, but that would turn me into like a band leader, it would turn it into a band, and I going back to the whole punk rock thing, and the heavy metal band
Right.
that was coming to an end. It's like the goal is to not rely too much on other people. You know,
Yeah, that's
I
true.
I like keeping it nimble and portable.
Well, that's good. So how did you get the name Otopus? How did that come about that you
Right,
used?
right. So I was oops, sorry, knocked myself. Um, there was in the early 2000, well, the early aughts, as they say, there was a United Kingdom soccer player named Bryan Hughes, quite famous. I
Okay.
I know this just because I looked it up. I wasn't like a fan. There was a Texas politician called Bryan Hughes.
Hmm.
And so I knew I was kind of entering the internet search age. And I didn't want to use my name. And so I resorted to the band naming tactic that we always use to
Okay.
name bands, and listing hundreds of names, and then brainstorming and weeding it all down. And so I settled on AeTopus,
Okay.
because
Very.
it just kind of represented it just sounded right.
It's got a unique sound, unique name. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's funny because I can't undo it now. I mean, it's like, that first album, you're like, oh, is that a good name? Because, and I capitalized the T in Topus, and it's all one
Right.
word, and I'm constantly having to like, um, explain it and tell streaming platforms, no, you got to capitalize the T. I mean, it's just been a huge
Oh boy.
pain. So, but there it is. It is what it is now. So 10 albums later, 11 albums
That's
later.
great. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So what's the next record that you're do we have some updated new release information here before anything else? What's next?
No, I'm probably halfway, two-thirds of the way through the next release. I'll probably be mixing that in early 2026.
Wow. You
And
really
I would, Given the label's release schedule and my understanding of how they work, I would maybe expect a new album in maybe mid to late 2026, something like that. Usually
Okay.
I'm kind of on about a 2-year schedule, maybe 20
Hmm.
months.
Yeah. So what usually it takes what 6 to 8 months for a label to release something, right? Pretty much. I mean, that's what I remember.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it has to go into their queue. They have to have their
Right.
meetings about it. And they, you know, uh, work with the
Well, the
artist.
one nice thing about label though is you don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about that marketing stuff. You just worry about good music
It's
and
it's
music
it's
that
been a
you
blessing.
do.
Yeah, it's been great.
It is.
I mean,
So
you do surrender a little bit of creative control because, like I was
yes,
saying, I was used to doing all of my graphics and all my artwork, and um, but having that sense of collaboration, like with an artist and everything, it's been a good
yeah,
thing.
you're lucky. That's good.
Yeah, I haven't felt like I lost the reins really. So.
Well, your style is, set in place, so a label knows how to market you. Myself, I'm always changing records every time. So a label is very hard to market me. So you've got a good niche there where uh, I have a gentleman I know named Stephen Buckley, and he's a
Uh-huh.
young guy. He does some of the mastering work for me, but I think he's an independent electronic musician, and he works with labels, and it's same thing. He has a niche,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so that's great.
Yeah, yeah. And the goal is to just, keep being yourself.
Keep plugging away. Yeah,
I talk to the folks that run the label. One one guy, his name's Howard Givens. He's one of the founders of Spotted Peccary Music. He's given me some really good advice and kind of reinforced what I've been
oh, okay,
thinking all along, which is, you don't think of the listener. You don't think of the audience. Don't worry about what you think someone might be expecting or wanting. You just keep refining your craft and keep
that's it.
giving the
I
world
agree.
what you think is good. And after you hone it and keep honing it, it's
That's a great attitude. What's
that's
going to come
yeah.
your way? That's great.
Once you change, once you think, well, this isn't working, and it's been 3 albums, and it's just not working. Once you change, it's kind of like, when you're in a long uh, checkout register line at the
Yeah, that's
supermarket, and you
true.
look at the next one, and you're like, there's nobody in that line. And then you go over, and somebody whips out an old school checkbook, and then they need to call a manager. You're like, I shouldn't have changed lines.
Yeah, I saw that recently. So I saw that recently. Somebody wrote out a check at a supermarket. Wrote out a
Uh-huh,
check.
uh-huh.
It was hysterical. I was
Yeah,
like,
it
oh
still
wait, I need
happens.
your ID. I need so, but that is great that you've got all this going for you here, Bryan. And it sounds like you got more great music coming. And my philosophy now is I'm just putting everything out for free that I put out. I'm not going to think about it if people want it, like the channel here. If the more you force things, I think in life, the harder it is. If you just let things happen naturally.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, anybody who's in this business, I'll call it a business, but does what we do,
Yeah,
is you have to surrender early on and say, you know what, it's the money cannot be the point, everybody else's approval cannot be the point.
right.
It's
But like this, I have to get, yeah, I'm never going to make money on this channel, but at this point, I don't care. I'm enjoying talking to people like you and everybody else that contributed to, sharing their creativity.
Yeah, well,
of
and
what they do.
thanks for giving those people like myself like a platform, and you know it is appreciated. We appreciate and want to support the broadcasters, the bloggers, the folks like you who just do this is it's work running a YouTube
It is.
channel. I
It
mean,
is.
it's and it's really valuable. It's very
Right. And
cool.
especially the higher level, the guests you get, a lot of work. I think I'm going to be speaking to like 3 Captain Beefheart guys,
I
you
saw
know,
that. Yeah,
and I
I
have
saw
Jeff.
that. You got some names on there.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow I have Jeff Cotton from Captain Beefheart, the guitar player. So
Nice.
I'm really excited that, but we want to do this, I mean, they're not getting paid. I don't think,
Hmm.
the subscribership is not in the millions or the hundreds of thousands, but it's just great given time, like everybody, even yourself,
Well,
to make this happen.
yeah, and I'm guessing that those guys are, they're at a probably at a point where they're like interested in talking about their legacy and
Right.
their story, I mean, so that's awesome.
And what's really great about this chat, what's great about talking to everybody has another craft besides music that they do that
Hmm.
comes out in these interviews like, oh, I didn't know you did that, or, outside of even being a musician.
Yeah,
So that's what's made it really even more interesting to do.
yeah, yeah. Well,
So I think we're out of time here. Just give me how's everybody find your music out there?
um, you know, as far as like what I do,
Is it through the label?
it's it's through the label. It's Bandcamp's a big deal.
Okay.
Bandcamp,
Right. That's what I use.
yeah, I feel like I mean, I have almost zero footprint on Spotify, and
Oh, forget
I
it.
don't even care.
No, you shouldn't.
It's
You're not going to make it's it is Spotify. That's why it's Spotify. It's spotty.
right,
That
right.
you're going to get
But
anything out of it.
it really is getting out there and engaging with people
Well,
directly and
Bandcamp's the way to
talking
go.
to folks like you. Um, I have a feeling once my live situation picks up, I mean, any show, I'm also I'm in a band here in Bellingham, and every time we play a show, I
Yeah.
mean, we pick up 10, 20 followers and sell a bunch of merchandise,
Oh, that's great.
And
Well, that's
so
the only way you sell it these days.
well, yeah, and again, it's not just about
You have
selling
to
stuff,
play
it's
out. I
about,
mean,
like, getting
that's my
people
only
into
reason.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, so I didn't know you had a band too that you're playing. Is this a cover band?
Oh, no, no, this is like it's a social political, punk metal kinda
That's
thing.
great. Oh, you
Yeah,
gotta send me information on that too.
okay, we will do, we will
Yeah, I
do.
want to know, send me the links that you want me to put in the description, and I'll put all this up for you and try
Right on.
to help promote your music.